For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Hello everyone and welcome to a tier list video, and I've been wanting to do this for a very long time because obviously I've watched all of the MCU movies up until Endgame twice, right? At least twice, except the Incredible Hulk actually, and a couple sprinkled in there, and you know. There are some pretty unpopular opinions here, and there's one recurring theme throughout these that you're probably going to be pissed with me for. But, hey ho, I was like, you know what? Even though I haven't seen most of these movies in a while, let me do a tier list. So, of course, as much as I love the MCU, I have not seen every project, so there will be some that will be going and haven't seen. And I was obviously too lazy to create my own tier list, so this is a tier list courtesy of Cody Leach, absolute legend. Go subscribe to him. He's one of the best guys, really. And yeah, this is his tier list, and let's just get right into this with the first Iron Man. Now, I am going to preface this entire tier list with this one sentence, okay? Do not kill me. I was never a fan of Iron Man.
How dare you?
I don't know what it was. I just never really liked him. Everyone, whether it was in school or whatever it was, everyone always said, oh yeah, Iron Man's my favorite Avenger. Iron Man is the best. I never really liked him. I don't know what it was, but I don't know. I just don't know. So even the first Iron Man, you know, I just sort of like, I'll put it in Multiverse of Meh. This is my opinion, okay? It's my opinion. So, gonna be, you know, very different to everyone else's, but it's fine. The Incredible Hulk. I will put this, I'll put it in Needs Avenging. I hated this movie the first time I watched it, but obviously now, you know, all these years later, I really just appreciate the Hulk for what he was. You know, having the actual savage Hulk there is just so freaking cool. It really is. So yeah, that is that. Iron Man 2. This is also going to go in Multiverse of Meh. I didn't really care for this movie. It just sort of exists. I don't think I liked it more than the first Iron Man. But yeah, this one I just didn't really feel anything here. I don't care for the villains. The main story, I could not tell you anything that happens in this movie. I can't tell you a single thing that Tony does apart from that scene when he fights Rhodey. So there's that. Now we have Thor. Look, I know people crap on the Thor movies. I don't care. I really like the first Thor. I think that it is just so fun, and just, I don't know, it's like it's really enjoyable to me. I'm not sure what it is, but I just don't know. I really am invested in both stories going on. You know, you have the fish out of the water thing with you know, the whole Thor thing going on Earth, and then you have the Asgard storyline with Odin and, you know, Loki and stuff like that. I just love the first Thor. I don't know what it is. It's a very simple movie. Obviously, this is like the first big step towards the like more cosmic side of the MCU. But yeah, I don't know what it is about this one, but I really liked it. Captain America, the First Avenger. Oh, I will again put this in Multiverse of Meh. This is going to be probably a packed, and I mean a packed tier for the rest of this list. But yes, Captain America: The First Avenger, it's good. You know, it's good. I'm just saying, like, the only movies that I will say are bad are, like, the Hail Hydra ones. Needs Avenging are, like, Multiverse of May is, like, slightly better than that. And then Marvelous is, like, nice. Captain America the First Avenger, it's not the best movie. You know, Captain America is my favorite Avenger, but even this movie is just not very interesting to me. I don't know what it is. I'm not really someone who hates, war films and stuff like that. Of course, I love Hugo Weaving, Transformers. He voiced Megatron in the first 3 Michael Bay films. But, I don't know, Red Skull just sort of felt like a very disappointing villain. Obviously, it's improved by, Infinity War and Endgame. But, I don't know. Just this first movie alone, don't think that it's good enough. Now we have The Avengers. And... actually, no, I should probably put these in order. I'll probably put that one there. And the first Avengers movie, I am going to, again, put in Multiverse of Meh. I did not like the first Avengers. I don't know. Look, obviously, especially when comparing it to most modern attempts at bringing characters together from different franchises, it doesn't really work. The first Avengers, I think, is probably the movie that does it the best. But... this movie is just so boring to me. Obviously, I don't expect them to be fighting for the entire movie, together. I don't mean them to be. I don't expect them to be working together the entire film. Of course, you have to build up to it, but to me, this just always felt more like a Shield film, and the Avengers are just sort of like sprinkled in, and then at the end they finally come together. I just don't think that the Avengers is good enough to be anywhere higher than that. Yes, I enjoy Thor more than the Avengers. Fuck off. I don't know what it is. I just find the first Avengers painful to sit through, and I just sort of skip to that final act. When Loki, like the Chitauri, just come through. That's sort of what I just skip to. Iron Man 3. Now, this is an interesting one because this is actually the latest MCU movie I watched for the first time. I had seen every single MCU film up until this point, except Iron Man 3. So, Iron Man 3 was the last one I watched. And as much as I want to put it in Marvelous, I'll put it above the first Avengers? I don't think so. I don't think I'll put it above the first Avengers, but I quite liked Iron Man 3. I don't know what it was. Like, it felt like a fun little special. I don't know what it was about Iron Man 3. But even all the scenes with the suits and stuff, as I said, I don't really like Iron Man. I never really found him to be that awesome. But in this movie, loved him. So, yeah, I know Iron Man 3 gets crapped on a lot. And honestly, I think this movie could have been 10 times better if the villain was better, because you have the Mandarin throughout the movie who ends up being a fake, and then you have the Extremis guy, knockoff Brad Pitt, who just sort of is meh as a villain, generic rich guy. So yeah. Then we have Thor: The Dark World. Now, this is, I wouldn't say technically, right, the first MCU movie that I was aware was part of the whole Infinity Stone thing, because I hadn't seen anything before this, except Spider-Man Homecoming. But I only watched that because I knew that, because it's Spider-Man. Back then I hadn't seen the entire MCU. I didn't care about any superhero except Spider-Man. Thor: The Dark World I watched knowing that it's involved with the Infinity Stones. And I like Thor: The Dark World. I think especially after Love and Thunder, people need to be more grateful towards this film for actually having a dark tone, And if you had chucked in Gore the God Butcher into this movie, like if you had swapped the villains, because Malekith is a joke of a villain, man, come on. But if you had taken Gore from Love and Thunder and put him in this movie, perfection. Obviously, timeline-wise, this was way too early to do a Gore the God Butcher film. But I'm just talking about, like, tone-wise, would have been great. So, I really don't know where to put this, because the first Avengers, as much as I just crapped on it, does have some good scenes. But I think I will put The Dark World above it. I just put Thor: The Dark World above the Avengers. So, that's that. Captain America: The Winter Soldier, there's no winning with this movie. If I put it at the top, people will say that I'm just, a suck-up. If I put it at the bottom, people will be pissed that I didn't put it higher. I mean, I'll put it in Marvelous. Like, it's good. It is good. But it's just not on that level that I feel like people hold it up to be. Like, I love my street-level, grounded MCU movies, But The Winter Soldier, I'm not sure what it... Like, I don't know. I don't love it as much as other people do. I do think that it is incredibly overrated. I think it's good. I'm not saying, oh my god, people just love this for no reason. No, I do think that it's a good movie, but I just think that it's incredibly overrated. See, now we're hitting a good stride here. Guardians of the Galaxy is going to the top of Marvelous. Love this. Love Guardians of the Galaxy. A movie about characters that I've never heard of, obviously. But I love Chris Pratt. Obviously, Jurassic World, one of my favorite movies. Chris Pratt is, of course, basically the main character in that. And to see him in a role like this is just so good. I loved the team dynamic. I do think that they are more entertaining than the Avengers. I will say that. And that applies to the entire Guardians trilogy. And the only reason that this is not S tier is because I feel like Ronan the Accuser could have been a much better villain. I think if he was a better villain, even if he was as good as Ego, this would have been S tier, 100%. Just for the soundtrack alone, this should be S tier, but you have to just limit it a little bit because of Ronan. And I don't know, man. I don't know. Guardians of the Galaxy, I think, is just such a feel-good movie in the MCU. It's brilliant. It really, really is. Now we have Age of Ultron. And this may be a hot take. I am putting Age of Ultron there. I love Age of Ultron. I think that it is so much fun. It is the only Avengers film where you have the Avengers working together from the beginning to the end. I think that Ultron is a great villain. Obviously, severely underutilized, especially in comparison, with the title, Age of Ultron. And then, we do the next Avengers movie, Doomsday. Doomsday is one day. Age of Ultron implies that it's going to be a long ass time. And the actual things about the characters are going to be switched, because Ultron literally had 1 day of being the man, and then he was dead. He was dead, he was killed. But I don't know what it is about Age of Ultron. I just love it. I find it so funny. I find the badass moments really badass. As much as I said that I don't like Iron Man, the Hulkbuster scene is so fucking cool. That is just badass, man. So good. So yeah, Age of Ultron I think is fantastic. The only slight negative I could think of for it is the post-credit scene. As much as I found it very exciting, because I was watching the MCU to get to Thanos, because Thanos is the only thing I knew about with this franchise. And the post-credit scene, obviously, while exciting, seeing Thanos again, it doesn't make any sense, because Thanos puts his hand in the gauntlet and says, fine, I'll do it myself. Even though Ultron had nothing to do with the Infinity Stones. So, yeah. Awesome. Love Age of Ultron. Ant-Man, again, going into Marvelous. I like Ant-Man. I don't know what it is. I think it's just... It might be Paul Rudd, but I just find the movies themselves so fun. It's just really enjoyable. And that is sort of the thing with this tier list, is there's a lot of movies that are just that I find really enjoyable higher up. Like Thor. Thor realistically should not be that high. But it is. It's above Winter Soldier. It's above the Avengers. It's above Iron Man. I love it. And I'm sticking with my guns here with Ant-Man. I think that Ant-Man is great, but much like Guardians of the Galaxy, had the villain been stronger, this could have been S tier. I don't know. I feel like Yellow Jacket just could have been developed just a bit more instead of just generic jealous business guy. So yeah, Ant-Man, solid movie. Captain America, Civil War. I really doubt that there's anyone in disagreement that this undoubtedly goes into Goats Assemble. This was a top 3 MCU movie for me. I fucking love this. This is damn near perfect. You have an amazing conflict between Cap and Iron Man that leads to a logical, division. You have one of the MCU's best villains with Baron Zemo. Obviously, a character with no superpowers, no, enhanced strength or anything like that. Just a man who lost his family in the Age of Ultron battle, and he's here to take revenge. And he's here to split the Avengers apart. He is the one who tore the Avengers apart. They were never together after this movie. And that is entirely because of Zemo. The fight scenes in this film are great. The Civil War, the airport scene, I think is great. I love bringing in the different characters. Of course, Spider-Man, introducing him. Black Panther, of course, probably my favorite character in that movie. I think I love Black Panther. And of course, bring in Ant-Man, which is freaking sick. I just love this movie. And the thing is, obviously, I am Team Cap. Because number one, he's my favorite Avenger. But really, it's because he's in the right. The people that are on Team Iron Man, the people to this day in 2025, almost 10 years since this movie came out, say that they are on Team Iron Man. They literally only say that because of the characters that are on Team Iron Man. Y'all don't give a shit that Tony is entirely in the wrong here. You'll just go, oh, look at Team Iron Man. You got Iron Man, you got Black Panther, Spider-Man, Black Widow. How can you not choose Team Iron Man? It's because he's wrong. Civil War, man, this is like a 10 out of 10. I love this movie. So, yeah, absolutely awesome. Doctor Strange, I will chuck in. I feel like Multiverse of Meh is like a bit too negative. I feel like I'm pretty sure Cody said this in his video actually. It would be nice to have a tier between Marvelous and Multiverse of Meh. But Doctor Strange, I will put probably at the top of Multiverse of Meh. I think that the first Doctor Strange is pretty good. Obviously, Benedict Cumberbatch just plays the role so well. You have some really good side characters here. Of course, you're introduced to Wong. You meet, what's his name? Mordo. You meet Mordo, the Ancient One, of course. One of the few negatives. Obviously, this is a gorgeous movie, by the way. Amazing visuals. But Caecilius is a very weak Marvel villain, which is painful because Mads Mikkelsen is such an amazing actor that, a lot of us wanted him for Doom. Either him or Cillian Murphy could have been an amazing Doctor Doom. And I saw this one comment on Reddit the other day of someone saying, like, what if Doctor Doom disguised himself as Caecilius to learn the ways of sorcery from Kamar-Taj? And I'm like, what? That would be cool. They wouldn't do it because you wouldn't relate, as much as we want Mads Mikkelsen to play Doctor Doom, you wouldn't relate Doctor Doom to a nothing villain like Caecilius, So yeah, I don't know. Doctor Strange is pretty good, but I just feel like it is a bit too, I wouldn't say a bit too generic, but it's too, it feels too repetitive of certain things we've seen before to end up a bit higher. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, I will also put this in, actually I said also, I put that in Multiverse of Meh. Guardians 2 is going in Marvelous. I really like the Guardians. I just love the Guardians together. So inherently, whether the movie is good or bad, I will enjoy this movie. I will never forget the ridiculousness of Ego revealing that he put the tumor in his wife's head. That will always shock me to my core. I remember when I was making my mom watch through these movies. I wasn't like holding a hostage. I was just there to explain. I put the subtitles off for that part, and just hearing her gasp, like, oh man, that was a great scene, a great scene. But yeah, this movie, funny as hell, obviously. Basically everything about the first movie I think applies here. I definitely feel like people are a bit too negative on this film, especially when you compare it to the first and the third movie. But yeah, really do like Guardians 3. Spider-Man Homecoming. Again, going into Marvelous. In fact, I will actually... I'll probably put it there. Maybe. This is the first MCU movie I ever watched. Because at this point, I loved all of Tobey Maguire's movies. I love Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man, of course. I loved both of Andrew Garfield's movies. I love him. Yes, I know it's a hot take. Deal with it. I'm a happy Spider-Man fan. So I saw a new Spider-Man movie in theaters. I was like, yes, let's freaking go. I'm seeing Iron Man in this movie, and I'm like, why is Iron Man in a Spider-Man movie? Because, obviously, as I said earlier with Thor: The Dark World, I hadn't seen anything of the MCU at this point. So I'm like, oh my fucking god, get Iron Man out of here. Why is he here? Just to have Spider-Man. So, yeah, that's like the main thing with Homecoming, is like, it's the beginning of Spider-Man not being able to stand by himself. But overall, for the Spider-Man things that we do get, I quite like. Vulture, amazing villain. Michael Keaton absolutely kills it. I obviously love the whole Homecoming plot. I think that's really good. Ned, I think, is a fantastic best friend for Peter. Obviously, Marissa Tomei is Aunt May. I mean, come on, look at her, man. Yeah, probably doesn't deserve to be that high, but I'm a happy Spider-Man fan. It's going there. Thor Ragnarok. I am going to put this in Goats Assemble. Love this movie. Love it. Did it pave the way for one of the biggest abominations in movie history? Yes. But this was great. This movie was fucking hilarious. I loved everything about it. Loki, Thor, Valkyrie, Hela, Heimdall, all these characters who, no matter how much they were in the movie. I mean, I just said Heimdall. Heimdall is barely in it. And of course, you have Jeff Goldblum here. You have like a Jurassic Park reunion of when you have Sam Neill play Odin in that little play, early in the film. And then you obviously have Jeff Goldblum later on as the Grand Master. And it's just so good. This movie is so funny. And I don't know how they did it. Especially, comparing it to Thor: The Dark World, which is a very serious movie. And, I would say I do prefer my movies like that. Especially, well, for Thor anyway, I do prefer a serious Thor. But Ragnarok was so good. This is just such an enjoyable film. Really very, like, nothing really that I can sort of point a finger at. I think that it's amazing. Now we have Black Panther. And look, before I place this, I'm just going to say that when a lot of people talk about Black Panther, they say, oh, obviously the cultural significance, all this, but as a movie, it should be lower. I am in South Africa. This movie takes place in Africa. There are things in this movie that I see around me almost every day. I adore Black Panther. I love this movie. I think that it is just so lovely seeing just a Marvel movie in Africa. I think that it's so good. It really does just feel homey. Because, I mean, obviously, I'm not black, so I don't feel the full impact of this movie. But I'm surrounded by this stuff, and just seeing the costume designs, the little like traditional things that they added, the little details, it's so good. It's amazing. It really is. Of course, story-wise, it's basically The Lion King, right? It's basically The Lion King, but it's amazing. T'Challa is such a lovable character. Chadwick Boseman, of course, what a heartbreaking death that was. He plays the character so well. Of course, he was great in Civil War. Standout character, as I said, probably, I think apart from Zemo, my favorite character of that movie. Black Panther, he's even better. Shuri, I think, is great. Of course, Angela Bassett, amazing as Queen Ramonda. But I think a big standout of this film is Michael B. Jordan as Killmonger. Amazing villain, really, really good. Realistic as well, sympathetic, tragic, but also he is still evil. He's still a bad guy. But yeah, love Black Panther. Oh my god. Look, the ending CGI goofy as hell and looking like a freaking PS2 video game. Yes, but I will excuse it just for the look of this movie, mostly the score of the movie, the attention to detail with the culture and everything like that. Amazing, just fantastic. So yes, I love Black Panther. Leave me alone. Now we have another big hitter, and that is Avengers Infinity War. This is just like, you cannot watch Marvel and have this be anywhere apart from the highest tier. Infinity War is practically perfect. This is Thanos' movie, the introduction to Thanos as a main character. Because you establish what a threat he is from the opening sequence. He kills Heimdall, he beats the Hulk, he kills Loki. Done. He could have killed Thor, really. But what a film. What a film. This, even though I am cautiously optimistic for Doomsday, it could never be Infinity War. Come on, they could never in a million years be Infinity War. This movie has just a fun, it's just amazing at everything, really. The action is great. The comedy, I think most, 90% of it really does work. The interactions between the different characters, I never would have thought I would have seen Iron Man interacting with friggin' Peter Quill. Chucking in, obviously all of these little side characters. Doctor Strange, who hasn't really been part of it. Well, okay, actually, no, he was in Ragnarok. Bringing in Spider-Man. Obviously the rest of the Guardians. I just love this movie. I think that Infinity War is absolutely perfect. I love the ending. I think that it was horrific. Obviously, I knew that Thanos snapped his fingers, but it was so good. It was so good. And I think it does have one of the best final battles of any film on this list, because you just have, it's barely a battle, it's a slaughter. Thanos just shows up, and honestly, anytime I imagine a villain just sort of showing up and being imposing, I immediately think of that music, of that dun dun dun, and when Thanos starts walking, that like dun dun, and he just like throws people out of the way. Hulkbuster, yeah, piss off, gets stuck in the wall. Black Panther, get out. Like even freaking Black Widow just surround her in the dirt. And Captain America, this is one of my favorite scenes of the entire MCU, of when Cap is just holding up Thanos' gauntlet, and Thanos is like pretty surprised, and he just slowly lowers it, and then poof, knocks him out. That is such a fucking awesome scene. I could go on about Infinity War, but come on, you all know it's the god. Now we have Ant-Man and the Wasp, and I will again put this in Marvelous. I think that this movie is underrated. I really liked Ant-Man and the Wasp. Again, much like the first film, very small scale. Of course, this is the first film after Avengers Infinity War. One of the biggest movies of all time. But you get to Ant-Man and the Wasp, and you have this cute little, small scale little heist movie. Well, actually, this one isn't really the heist. Well, it is still technically a heist film, but you know what I mean. Love this one. I think that it is just so funny. You got some great bits of comedy here, especially, regarding Ant-Man and the whole, like, size changing thing. Ghost, not a great villain. Obviously, she does get better in Thunderbolts, but I always felt like they just sort of missed the mark with the ending of her character. That would have been really nice if they'd given her a proper conclusion, especially considering that basically her father figure is Lawrence Fishburne. I feel like they could have done more with them. But yeah, Ant-Man and the Wasp, solid film in my opinion, really, really good. Now we have Captain Marvel with a steep decline in quality. Fuck this movie. I hate Captain Marvel. I think that this is one of honestly, this might actually be the most boring Marvel movie. There's almost nothing about this movie that I like. I think that Samuel L. Jackson is literally it. It's just so boring. Captain Marvel is such a boring character, and they don't really do anything with her. She's just generic powerful woman who is powerful in the beginning and then powerful at the end, and like, I just don't care. I don't care for Captain Marvel. I don't like this movie. You have Jude Law as a villain, and you waste him in such a stupid defeat scene, really. Yeah, Captain Marvel easily Hail Hydra for me. Hate this movie. And then we have Avengers Endgame, which is the complete opposite. Endgame, I think, is just amazing. I have to say that because obviously in recent times, Endgame does get a lot of crap because of the whole nostalgia thing. People can't really accept that movies make people happy and they have to crap on it. Endgame, amazing. A couple months ago, I didn't have Wi-Fi for like a weekend, and I was looking through my old things I had recorded. I was looking like, what can I watch? And Avengers Endgame was there. And I was like, let me watch Endgame. And this movie is just so good. It's amazing. It's damn near perfect. I know a lot of people say Infinity War is better than Endgame. Even here, I'm like undecided. Do I put Endgame above Infinity War? I don't know. I don't know. Because Endgame obviously is a slower film. It's very much like split into 3 parts. You have the post-blip mourning part of it. You have the time heist part of it, and then you have the final battle. Obviously, one of the best final battles in movie history, in my opinion. The portal scene is my favorite scene of any movie ever. I think that it is flawless. And yeah, I think Endgame is absolutely legendary. So yeah, that's that. Spider-Man Far From Home. I will again put this in Marvelous, above Homecoming. I don't understand the hate for this movie. I think that it is a lot of fun. It's Spider-Man. Obviously you do have him sharing the spotlight with Nick Fury, which at least not a superhero. Well, Skrull Nick Fury, but again, not a superhero, so somewhat better. Mysterio, I think, is a great villain. Don't know what he was gonna do when an actual threat shows up, but hey ho, I quite like him. Jake Gyllenhaal is just so good. If only his sister was half as likable in the comic book movie she was in. So yeah, WandaVision. I'm going to put WandaVision in probably needs avenging. I'll put it in Multiverse of Man, the bottom. This was obviously a huge deal back when it came out because this was the first Disney Plus show that Marvel ever did. Obviously, the beginning of many TV shows they were going to do. WandaVision was something special. The first couple episodes, you sort of just sit there going, what the hell is going on? And I do sort of want to rewatch this just to see like what exactly happened, because I don't remember much of it, but I remember the ending sort of being like, ooh, interesting. But yeah, I think that them doing like bits of TV shows from different eras of time, I think were quite good. I love the part of when the color actually came in. I love when the actual, events of the MCU played a factor in, like with Wanda seeing like the dead Vision, seeing the X-Men Quicksilver, I think was awesome until it was revealed that it's not actually him. So, that's disappointing. So, yeah, I also just realized that the laptop is about to die. So I should probably plug this in. But what was I just saying? Oh yes, Quicksilver. The whole Ralph Boner thing is not funny. I think it was incredible, like just a waste of time, really. And yeah, WandaVision, decent, but not good enough, in my opinion. Falcon and the Winter Soldier needs avenging, no doubt about it. I watched it this year, just before Captain America: Brave New World, and disappointment. Crap villains, good concept, but I feel like, especially after Brave New World, everyone is sort of in agreement that this should have been a movie, and it should, obviously this would have been Sam's first film. It would have, number one, just been a better introduction to him as Captain America, and secondly, it would have been a better setup for Thunderbolts, because Thunderbolts, you have Taskmaster, Yelena, and Red Guardian, all from Black Widow. You have Ghost from Ant-Man and the Wasp. You have Bucky from several movies. John Walker is the only character who was introduced in a TV show. And I feel like Falcon and Winter Soldier, if this was a movie, could have, really set that up even better. But yeah, you are introduced. Honestly, the best thing about the show, I think, is Isaiah Bradley. He's barely in it, but I think that he's the best part. So yeah, that's pretty good. Now we have Loki. And Loki, I'm going to put in Marvelous, probably just below Ant-Man. And that is because mainly of the first season. I think that the first season of Loki is pretty good. I think that it was, the best MCU show at the time. But I hated the ending. I hate the ending of season 1 of Loki. It is so abrupt, so quick, and I honestly had to check to see if there was another episode after that. That is not how you end a season, in my opinion. Now, season 2 is much better. I think it's like world difference, really. But I think that Loki, being like the whole multiverse, being like a very multiversal story, I feel like it can get a bit tiresome and a bit confusing at times. But it's not like so unbelievably confusing. You don't get lost in it. But yeah, Tom Hiddleston just absolutely kills it as Loki, as he always does. I think that the ending of this show is remarkable. I think it is one of the best episodes Marvel's ever made. And it's such a shame that we're gonna get him in Doomsday, because the ending of that Loki had here was perfect. It was amazing, phenomenal writing. It really, really was. Now we have Black Widow, and this is going to go in Multiverse of Meh. That is What If. Never mind. I accidentally took What If. What If is going in Haven't Seen. I don't give a shit about What If. That's stupid. Black Widow is going there. I obviously watched Black Widow this year, and it wasn't that bad. It really wasn't that bad. I think that the main problems with this movie are, number one, the villains. Taskmaster is pretty crap. Dreykov is pretty crap, and the final battle is just ridiculous. It's the CGI as well. Oh my freaking lord! This might be the worst movie in the MCU when it comes to CGI. It is so bad. But yeah, I just never cared to watch this because, I just never liked Black Widow. I don't care for Natasha. I don't know what it is about her, apart from her looks. What does she have? I like Scarlett Johansson. I love her. But I don't care about Nat. She's not an interesting character to me. So, at least with this movie, and of course Thunderbolts, with setting up Yelena as the next Black Widow, I think that she is a million times the character that Natasha ever was. So, yeah. There's that. Then we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, a very different MCU movie. This one is going to go up into Marvelous, probably about, maybe there. I'd really like this. I love how different it was. The ending, I feel like people crap on a bit too much. The whole dragon fight sequence. I loved Wenwu as a villain. I think that he was great. Obviously, he does sort of fall into this trope that Marvel does, of like the villain being corrupted by something and then turning good at the end. But odd. Aquafina, I just don't like her. I'm sorry. I don't like her voice. I don't really care for her. And she's basically a main character in this movie. And then of course you have the post-credit scene, which does not lead to the Kang Dynasty. So yeah, Shang-Chi, solid film, great choreography. I did not mention that. Fantastic choreography. Love the fight sequences. Underrated movie. Eternals is going probably at the top of needs avenging. I watched this movie recently, and the thing that I will say is that if it was like an hour shorter or like 45 minutes shorter, this could have been like a top 15, top 17 MCU movie. I think that Eternals has some great ideas. Icarus, I think, was a decent villain. What do I say villain? He's an antagonist. But the problem with Eternals is that it's like Prometheus in the Alien franchise. You have these like giant grand ideas that just sort of don't really work in the movie that you're doing it in. And then on top of that, you just have so many Eternals to focus on. The only ones I remember are Cersei, Thena, and Icarus. That's it. The funniest parts about this movie is that Kit Harington is in it, obviously Jon Snow from Game of Thrones, and he is, he's dating a character named Cersei. I found that fucking hilarious. And then, of course, you have Icarus played by the guy that plays Robb Stark. So lots of Game of Thrones connections here. And, I couldn't just help but at the end, when he says, I love you, Cersei. I don't care what you are. That was like, oh my god, Jon Snow. Calm down, boy. So, yeah. Then Hawkeye. Interesting one. I will put it probably at the bottom of Marvelous. I loved Hawkeye. To me, this is like an Ant-Man situation. It's just such a fun, cute little innocent show. It's not trying to be something huge and grand. It's not trying to set up a million and one things. No. Hawkeye was just fun. It was a lot of fun. Of course, I'm a sucker for Christmas things. I love Christmas time. I really, really enjoyed Hawkeye. Of course, I love Haley Steinfeld. I really like Hawkeye. Yes, I do think he's a more interesting character than Nat. I always felt that way. But the problem with Hawkeye, I feel, is Kingpin. I don't think that Kingpin should have been the villain here, because Kingpin is such a violent, dark, horrific character. I did a tier list for the MCU villains earlier this year, and he's probably my favorite Marvel villain. He is so unbelievably scary and threatening. But in this show, they sort of cartoonify him a bit, which, I have mixed feelings on. But him, like, pulling the car door and sending it fucking flying was way too stupid for me. Him wearing the outfit, I don't really mind that much. But yeah, I just don't really feel like they introduced him. Well, I say that his actual introduction scene of when he walks in and meets Vera Farmiga's character, that was really good, because the way that they film him, it's like the camera is so low on the desk so that when it looks up, he seems so much bigger than he actually is. So yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin will just elevate any show. But here I actually think that he is one of the weaknesses, because he is. It's not really the problem is. It's not really that he doesn't fit in the show. It's just more so that he's so rushed into it, because they only mention him at the end of the penultimate episode. So yeah, look, Hawkeye is just a lot of fun. It really is just a lot of fun. So yeah, I don't think many people will disagree with me there. Now we have Spider-Man No Way Home, and I don't care. This is probably, I will put it there, yes. I love this movie. This is just the dream Spider-Man film for us live-action fans. You have, of course, all the villains coming back, which Defoe's Green Goblin is unrivaled. He is so good in that first Spider-Man movie. He's so good that my one friend is scared of him, because of that movie. Not Green Goblin. She's scared of Willem Dafoe. And she won't even look at him. That's how good Defoe's Green Goblin is. And then you get to No Way Home and he is 10 times scarier in my opinion. Because he does all the acting with his face. That part where Peter is just punching the shit out of him and he's just laughing and laughing. That is creepy as hell. You have the first half of the movie be very, very normal MCU Spider-Man. Comedic, lighthearted, fun. But then once Aunt May gets killed, the movie completely changes tone. It's like Transformers 1. That first part is so, lighthearted and stuff. But then you have that turning point, like about halfway through the movie, and it's like, whoa, what the fuck? So, I will say this, Aunt May's death to me is sadder than Iron Man's. Not just because I never really liked Iron Man that much, but Aunt May's death just felt more personal because Peter, that's basically his mom, right? That's basically his mother. And he's getting shot at while she dies. He doesn't get to spend any time with her. And she dies basically because of a decision that he chose to make. But, even as he says in the movie, even though she was hurt, she still said that he made the right decision. But yeah, the way that they used that to, develop his character. But of course, after that scene, you do get the introductions of Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire. The first time I've ever heard a cinema actually react, actually clap. It was amazing seeing Andrew Garfield back. Of course, he is my favorite Spider-Man. I love The Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2. I just think that seeing them all together was an absolute dream. And, oh my god, I love No Way Home. You can poke at all the little plot holes that you want. Oh, this doesn't make sense. The CGI looks stupid. I don't care. I really don't care. I feel like, obviously, they weren't able to get Rhys Ifans and Thomas Hayden Church. They weren't able to get them back as Lizard and Sandman, so they had to sort of reuse footage. But I feel like apart from that, which really wasn't their fault, I can't fault No Way Home. I love this movie to death. I've seen it, oh god, like a dozen times maybe. And I will watch it till the end of eternity. So yes, I love No Way Home. Absolutely love it. And you know what? In fact, actually, I'm putting it... There we go. Wait. There we go. Nope. There we go. I'm putting it at the top. Moon Knight. Moon Knight will go into Multiverse of Meh. I feel like it was really solid until that last episode. You had a lot of good things with Moon Knight. A lot of good things. I like the implied violence here. You have Ethan Hawke, of course. Amazing actor. Really, really good actor. Sort of wasted here. I think the CGI in certain scenes of Moon Knight is not that good. But Oscar Isaac himself, I think, is fantastic as, whether it's Mark Spector, whether it's Stephen Grant. Sorry, I thought I saw a cockroach. He's just so good. I love the introduction of Moon Knight at the end of episode 1. Khonshu, I think, is just a cool character. And yeah, I feel like had the ending been less ridiculous, just giant CGI fight, this would have been higher. And also if it, actually got a second season and we followed up with that, plot thread at the end. So, yeah, there's that. Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. Actually, no, I will put Moon Knight just above WandaVision there. Multiverse of Madness, I will probably put it to, I don't know, there. Maybe that seems a bit safe. Disappointment. Absolute disappointment. The movie's called Multiverse of Madness. You are in the main MCU for like half the film. Then you get about 10 seconds of different universes. And then you're in Earth 838 for the rest of the film. Very, very disappointing with the multiverse things. I think that even the sort of nostalgia that they try using, with Sir Patrick Stewart as Professor X, bringing him back. Some fan service bringing John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. I don't know. I really don't know. Multiverse of Madness, it feels like half a Sam Raimi movie. Because, of course, this isn't Spider-Man Sam Raimi that's directing this. This is Evil Dead Sam Raimi. I love the horror vibes here. Of course, love horror. Very happy that they let Sam Raimi get away with certain things here. I mean, Black Bolt's head literally explodes and he bleeds from his eyes and nose and he just flops on the floor. Brutal as fuck. But they allowed it. And, I don't know, Multiverse of Madness just sort of feels to me. It's like, does it want to be a sequel to WandaVision? Does it want to be a sequel to Doctor Strange? Does it want to be a setup for this thing? It doesn't flow that well to me. So, yeah, especially coming off of the heels of No Way Home, which is, another multiverse movie. I just feel like Multiverse of Madness completely flopped it. And, America Chavez, to me, is just a sickening character. She's so annoying. I don't know what it is about her, but she's very, very irritating. So, even Doctor Strange in this movie, I feel isn't as good as he usually is. I just don't know what it was about this. But, yeah, crappy ending as well, by the way. So, yeah, Multiverse of Madness, it's just Now we have Miss Marvel, and Miss Marvel is going to go along with What If into Haven't Seen. Thor, Love and Thunder. I said it for Captain Marvel. I will say it again for Thor, Love and Thunder. Fuck this movie. I hate this film with every bone in my body. I despise it. Every person who wrote a bit of dialogue for this film, I hope always has their pillow be warm on both sides. I hate it. It is an absolute disgrace. It's just horrific. It really, really is. You have Thor Ragnarok, which balanced the seriousness and the comedy so well, but this movie is just ridiculous. It goes way over the edge. The comedy is just horrifically unfunny. But let me just break it down for you. Before you watch the movie, this is the idea you have, right? The premise for Love and Thunder. Jane has cancer. That is, obviously a very serious, very real matter, Jane has cancer. Gore loses his daughter in the beginning of the film, and because the gods don't answer his prayers to save her, he goes on a killing spree to kill all the gods. And of course, that is a huge thing of, Gore not only kidnapping the children of Asgard, but going out and slaughtering all these gods. And then you get to the movie, and what is it? Just this stupid movie that takes nothing seriously, fakes deaths about 1,000,000 times, and oh yes, of course, I completely forgot the most important part about it. Christian Bale is playing Gore the God Butcher. Christian Bale, Patrick Bateman himself, and like an amazing actor, one of the best actors of our generation. You have playing, arguably, in my opinion anyway, Thor's best villain. And you waste him. That, to me, wasting Mads Mikkelsen was bad. Wasting Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher genuinely hit me in the heart. It felt like a stab to the heart, because you have an actor that I love. You have a character that I love. And you just completely waste him. Such a dark, tragic, broken character in a movie that feels like a joke. Superhero movie takes itself more seriously than Thor, Love and Thunder. Superhero movie and scary movie, actually. That's really what Thor, Love and Thunder feels like. It feels like the scary movie. It feels like the superhero movie. The Wayne brothers version of of an MCU movie. You have ridiculous jokes the entire film, and then when Gore shows up, the very few scenes he has, it actually begins to feel like a real movie. And Christian Bale gives it his all. He gives a great performance because even though the movie he's in is absolute crap, he is still an amazing actor, and I just absolutely love it. I wish that they didn't waste Christian Bale in the MCU. But yeah, there's that. Next we have She-Hulk. Don't care. Don't care. I watch this week to week. I did not want to watch this. I only ended up watching it because they showed Daredevil in the one trailer. And of course, I love Daredevil. This is just like, it's just eh. It's just eh. It, again, doesn't really feel like something that should be in the MCU. It's not really good. She-Hulk is not an interesting character. The whole thing of her being like, I control my anger way more than you because I'm a woman and I get catcalled. Saying this to Bruce Banner is an absolute insult, by the way. She's just eh. The villains are rubbish. Daredevil is basically the only good thing in this show, and you can tell that even the creators knew that, because episode 8, which is Daredevil's episode, which by the way, love Daredevil's theme here. That like dun 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 dun. I love it. It's very electric. But that episode 8, where Daredevil is there, that is where all the budget went to. 90% of the budget went to episode 8 because the CGI looks great. The cinematography is way better. The freaking choreography is amazing. And it's just so good. Episode 8 is amazing. The rest of the show, pretty crap. So yeah. Werewolf by Night. I'll put this in needs avenging. I love horror. You know, I like werewolves. I don't really feel anything with this special. It just sort of exists for me. You know, I really do think so. Obviously I haven't seen it in a while, but yeah, I don't know what it was. Obviously, you know, since it being black and white, you do get some gore, which very, very nice. I'm a gore whore, love it. But yeah, story-wise, doesn't really add much to the MCU for me. Now we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. This one is difficult for me to do it because Black Panther, obviously this movie is just so unbelievably sad and horrific to watch. But I don't care. I don't care. Oh, do I put it in Goats Assemble? Do I really do that? You know what? I'll keep it at the top of Marvelous for now. If it changes, then I will put it up. I love Black Panther: Wakanda Forever because this movie had what, you know, is basically what John Wick had in the first movie, you know, well, before the first movie, and that was an impossible task. This is a film that suffered probably the worst thing that could have happened, and that is losing the main star. Chadwick Boseman's death absolutely destroyed us. It destroyed us all. And we all knew that Black Panther 2 was never going to be the same. Whether they recast him, whether they killed him off. And people still argue this to this day. And the thing is, you know, the truth is that no matter what they did, people would have wanted the other thing. You know, because if they had recast him, everyone would have been complaining, oh, this guy isn't Black Panther. He's nothing compared to Chadwick Boseman. And then if they went, you know, well, the route that they did go with, they'd be like, oh, they should have just recast T'Challa. It never would have worked. Humanity sucks. We can never be happy. I love this movie. It is so unbelievably sad, depressing, and just overall, it feels like an absolute heartache to watch. I've seen this movie twice. I don't know anyone else that has rewatched this movie, whether it be online or in person. Like an online person or someone I know in real life. I don't know anyone that's rewatched it, but I absolutely adore it because You have some horrific scenes. I don't know what it is, but I like sad movies. The one day it was just cold and rainy. I was like, what's a sad movie to watch? Wakanda Forever. Nice. And I'm amazed because as much as I love T'Challa's Black Panther, I think that the way that they passed it to Shuri actually did feel natural. And obviously, we all know that this wasn't the plan, but I'm just saying that it was so natural that it actually did feel like this was the plan. It didn't really feel like, oh shit, oh Kang, we can't do this. Let's just quickly pivot this direction. Here, it actually did feel like it was something that they had planned to do, which of course not true. But yeah, I love Wakanda Forever. As sad as it is, as horrific as it is, people just dismiss it. They just put it all the way down on the list because of how sad it is. But to me, that doesn't make sense. You can't put a movie towards the bottom of the list just because it's sad. Gladiator opens, well, I wouldn't say it opens, but in the first couple minutes, you have the death of a 7-year-old boy and the main character's wife, and they are hung up and burnt, and he goes and finds their bodies. Don't tell me that Gladiator, should be propped up. Obviously, I love Gladiator, by the way, one of my favorite films of all time. But like, there's no difference between Gladiator and Wakanda Forever in this aspect. Okay, so yeah, love Wakanda Forever. The Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special. Oh boy, oh boy. Oh my god. Look, I said it with Hawkeye. I'm a sucker for Christmas theme things. I think that this is just so much fun. It is so much fun. I love Drax and Mantis as a duo. Obviously, them going to Earth to try and find Kevin Bacon, I think is hilarious. The Christmas songs, obviously, love it. We're introduced to Cosmo. Of course. Love Cosmo. Freaking adorable. It just makes me feel so happy and so nostalgic, like for Christmas when I was a kid. But I just love Christmas things. Also, for my rookie fans out there, you get Skip Tracer Randy in here from The Rookie, in literally one scene. He's a bartender, I believe. So, yeah, love this. Absolutely love this special. It is my favorite special that we've had. So, yeah. Then we have Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania. I'm going to put this, again, in Needs Avenging. I don't think it's as god-awful as people make it out to be. It's just it was extremely disappointing in regards to Kang the Conqueror, because you introduce the character that's supposed to be the next Thanos, and he brags throughout the entire movie, "Do you know how many Avengers I've killed? I am Kang!" And you get to the one of the first scenes he has with Scott, where he's like, "You're not the one with the hammer. They all sort of blend together after a while." It's like, oh wow, sorry, you kill so many Avengers that they blend together and you forget about them, and yet you lost to fucking Ant-Man. You everything you've ever done in your life is disregarded if you lose to Ant-Man. Okay, like, just to clear that up, right? Tony Stark has no powers. He just has his suit. Losing to him, fair enough. He has an entire fucking military in his suit. Fair. You die to him, nothing to be ashamed of. Captain America is a freaking super soldier. No shame in being killed by him. Thor, a fucking god. No shame. Ant-Man. No powers. Nothing. His suit doesn't even do anything special with regards to weaponry. He just shrinks and grows. It's like, oh my god. I was just thinking that they took way too long to actually get to Kang. It takes like half the film. It's so annoying. Because most people, everyone went to watch this movie because of him. They marketed the shit out of him. Obviously, we know that he was meant to be the next Thanos, the villain of the next two Avengers films. But how do you take so long to introduce him into the movie? That and most of the movie isn't even funny. You know, it's Ant-Man. Realistically, anything should be funny, but he is basically the only funny part. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what they did with Kang. Such a disappointment. And yeah, this movie is just redundant. It really, really is. Because obviously now we will probably never see Kang again. Unless they do a whole reboot thing after Secret Wars. But after Secret Wars, we're going to be moving on to the mutants. I don't really think the Avengers are going to be an important part. So yeah, it's not offensive. It doesn't offend me as like the ones down there. But yeah, what a disappointment. What wasn't a disappointment, however, was Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This, to me, ish. I have a letterbox list of my ranking of all the MCU movies. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 is currently holding the number 1 spot. I honestly don't know if it'll stay there. I love it. I definitely like it more than Civil War. Endgame and Infinity War, though. That is a tall order. That is a very, very tall order. But, I don't know. Guardians 3 was absolute perfection. This is a 10 out of 10 film for me. Because it does everything that a third film in a trilogy is supposed to do. It brings the character, it gives every character such a phenomenal and satisfying conclusion. You know, obviously the whole backstory with Rocket is freaking heartbreaking. If you don't cry during this movie at least once, you are devoid of any emotions. This is absolutely probably the most emotional MCU movie. It's just so bad. The High Evolutionary I think is an amazing villain. I don't know why I didn't put him in S tier in my my villain tier list video. He is absolutely phenomenal, and he's just that villain that you love to hate. You know, you hate him so much. He's like Joffrey in Game of Thrones. You just want to fucking beat the shit out of him. But yeah, I don't know. I think the final battle of Endgame just carries it a bit higher. It really, really does. But I don't know, man. Guardians 3 is an absolute heavyweight champion. I love it. I love it to death. Secret Invasion, I will put this in Hail Hydra. I'll put it at the top. I do think that it is the best of these projects because episodes 1 to 5 I think were amazing. I loved episodes 1 to 5 of Secret Invasion. I think that it was very good. Obviously, I wanted this to be a movie, you know, an Avengers movie. And then episode 6 just really pissed me off because you end the show, number 1, with a CGI fight. Number 2, you have Emilia Clarke become the most broken character in the MCU of her having the powers of every single Avenger that was, that ever existed, really. And then you have, I'm yawning just thinking about it, but also, then again, it is 1:30 a.m. And, fuck, what was I even talking about? Yes, you end the show by setting up the actual Secret Invasion storyline. What the fuck was the purpose of this show then? This serves no purpose. So, yeah. Also, of course, the whole thing of like them implying that Rhodey was a Skrull since Civil War is absolute bullshit. So yeah, absolute garbage. I think if you erase episode 6, this would probably be bumped up, probably to the top of needs avenging, to be honest. But no, get this thing out of here. The Marvels. I will put this the bottom of or top of Hail Hydra. I just don't care. I really don't care for any of these characters. Monica, they barely give anything to. Captain Marvel, as I said, very boring character. And even when they try to give her some personality in this movie, it feels like such whiplash from the character we've been following through the first movie and Endgame. Haven't seen Miss Marvel, but I found her to be incredibly annoying, mainly in the first half of the movie. I don't understand the people that find her adorable and hilarious. I'm glad the actress is having fun. But yeah, I really don't care for this character. So also the villain is an absolute joke. This movie just sort of sucks because you have Samuel L. Jackson basically just read a bunch of jokes throughout the entire fucking movie. It's so annoying. So yeah, it's just joke after joke after joke after joke. I think every single line of dialogue that comes from his mouth is a joke. I like the whole scene of the Flurkins of them eating the lab, the scientists and stuff. I think that's good, especially when you have the announcement that says, "Dear staff, you know whatever it is, do not run. Let the Flurkins eat you." I think that was freaking hilarious. So yeah, that was good. Echo, Echo is going probably there. This show I think was just dumb. No one cares about Echo. This is a classic example of Marvel just giving any Tom, Dick, and Harry a TV show. No one cares about this. No one watched Hawkeye. And when you know what? Maya. Maya was my favorite character. Please give me an entire show on her. No, fuck off. The only reason we watched Echo was for Kingpin. Because everyone loves Kingpin. And this show, while, you know, it is obviously much more violent, I am happy that they sort of brought Kingpin back to his violent side here. Or, well, I wouldn't say his violent side, but like his more evil side as opposed to the more cartoony version we got with Hawkeye. But I still just feel like you have two different shows going on here. I clicked play on the first episode and was like, wait, did I click the right thing? Is this Echo? Or why am I dealing with like weird forest people? So yeah, the show is ridiculous. It really, really is. I thought it was meant to be grounded and serious, but then no. We have some weird fucking tree ritual thing. So yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine. Obviously a movie I was very excited for. And you know what? You know what? I will chuck Deadpool and Wolverine up there. That is Eternals. I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm so dumb. There we go. Okay. I will put it above Loki. I love Deadpool and Wolverine. This movie is just so funny to me. I love the duo of Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds. I think that their characters are so good together. Cassandra Nova is a pretty weak villain, but I think that the opening scene is one of the best of the MCU. It's so funny, especially knowing that, you know, from X2 that Wolverine hates Bye Bye Bye. Deadpool just completely destroying the gravesite of Logan, I thought was very Deadpool-esque. And I love the soundtrack of this movie. Of course, you know, you do have the bits of nostalgia. You know, you have Blade, Elektra, Laura coming in, even Johnny, you know, from Fantastic Four. But honestly, apart from Johnny, I would say they are more so supporting characters as opposed to, you know, just cameos. You know, this isn't really a cameo porn movie. There's not really many cameos in it. I think the only cameo in this film is Jon Favreau as Happy. Apart from that, they are mostly supporting characters. So yeah, Deadpool and Wolverine, just so awesome. You know, it's like trying to say that, oh, scary movie sucks. You can't like scary movie. That movie's so stupid. You know, there's no plot. Bro, who cares? Who cares if there's a plot? It's a fucking Deadpool movie. You know, just enjoy yourself. And that's exactly what Deadpool and Wolverine was to me. Just a lot of fun. Then we have Agatha All Along. I have not seen this. Same with Spider-Man. What's it? Friend Never with Spider-Man. Fucking stupid thing. Captain America Brave New World. I'll probably put it above Eternals, maybe, as of right now. I still think if Eternals was just like 40 minutes shorter, it would have been way higher. Brave New World, such wasted potential, you know. It's not as bad as people make it out to be, but it's just not a very enjoyable movie. It's pretty drawn out, pretty boring. Harrison Ford absolutely carries it as Thunderbolt Ross. He's amazing. He's amazing in the role, and you can really see that he cares here because, you know, it's not like Star Wars. Loved him, absolutely loved him as Thunderbolt Ross. He actually went through a character change. Sam in this movie to me is just very boring. Torres, I think, is all right. The fight between Red Hulk and Sam, I think, is a fantastic. And unlike most people, I am very happy that they didn't have Betty come in and talk him down. I'm happy that they did have Sam do it, because people forget that Sam was like I wouldn't say a therapist, but like he did this, like these council meetings for retired veterans and stuff, and that is what President Ross is. So I'm happy. I'm happy that they did what they did. Would have been nice if the CGI was decent there, but I love the details, obviously, of Red Hulk being able to hold the petals, because the angrier that Red Hulk is, the hotter his skin is, and you see it. When the petals hit his chest and stuff, they just instantly incinerate. But after Sam talks to him, you see him actually being able to hold it. It's amazing, especially after the brutal fight we just watched. Loved seeing Hulk action back in the MCU. The thunderclap, the insane jump, mental. Absolutely love that. But yeah, it's just sort of an F movie. The leader, oh my god, the leader. I do think his design is better than the comic version. I feel like the comic version would just look stupid in live action. I sort of like this like creepy, disgusting design of like his brain growing out of his head. Oh my god, it's crazy. So yes, Daredevil Born Again. You are gonna go. Why do I keep clicking Eternals? Why? Just get out. Where the fuck did I put Daredevil Born Again? There we go. Sorry. Oh my fucking god. There. Jeez, man. I will probably put it above Ant-Man and the Wasp, I think. Actually, you know what? No, fuck it, man. I'll put it there. And yes, I will put Guardians 2 above Winter Soldier. Love Daredevil Born Again. I think especially given the card they were dealt, much like with Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But here, the old creative team was just absolute rubbish. I mean, they were so dumb. They were ridiculously stupid for thinking that this would work. Casting Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox and having it not be connected to the Netflix series. Come on, man. No one would care. But this is essentially being season 4 of Daredevil. Obviously, Daredevil is still, in my opinion, to this day, the best thing that Marvel has ever done. And so much that I tried getting my sister to watch it, and she gave up on episode 8. She said she's not enjoying it, so I told her to get out the house and we'll buy her a kennel. But I loved most of what they did with Daredevil Born Again. The main thing that I would fix with it, number one, get rid of episode 5. Even Charlie Cox himself said that he doesn't really like episode 5. Make it darker. I feel like it looks too clean. It looks too polished for me. Add more Punisher. Add more Karen. And don't kill off Foggy in the first episode, you fucking morons. That, to me, is the dumbest thing that they did. It's absolutely pissed me off because I felt nothing. You don't kill off Foggy in the first episode, And I know a lot of people are going, oh, he's not actually dead. Did you know that on the window, it has the comic issue in which he fakes his death? That makes it worse. If he's dead, it doesn't matter. His death scene pissed me off. If he comes back, that's going to make it even worse, because I hate it when characters die and then all of a sudden it's a real, oh, they're actually alive this whole time, because then it completely defeats the emotional impact of the previous season. It's like Jurassic World Chaos Theory, season 1. You spend the whole time thinking, oh my god, the characters are actually dealing with Brooklyn's death, and then, oh no, Brooklyn's alive. So yeah, there is that. Thunderbolts. We are the Thunderbolts. Thunderbolts. Where did I put Thunderbolts? I'm actually going to destroy this thing, right? Thunderbolts. I will put Thunderbolts, obviously in S tier. Loki. Oh my god. This is pissing me off. Why is it being like this? There we go. Thunderbolts. I will put it above Ragnarok, not above Black Panther. Thunderbolts is going there. This is one of the most emotional movies that Marvel has made. I think that them tackling the topic of mental health And this movie, first of all, is very funny. It's a very funny movie. It looks beautiful because everything is practical, very little CGI here. And you obviously are, as I said, tackling this whole thing of mental health, self-worth, and I think it's all, it's hinted at with all the characters, really, well, I say really, it's all of them, but Bob is the main character here that they sort of focus on, because you have all these little moments of him saying things like, like when Yelena says, "If you stay here, you'll die." He says it jokingly, but he says, very sincerely, with a little smile on his face, he's like, "Yeah, well, maybe everyone's just better off if I just stay put." And oh my god, that absolutely shattered my heart. And then you have later scenes, obviously, like of when, freaking, like when Yelena is in like the shame room with Bob, and you're hearing what is happening with Bob's family, and he sort of stands up, for to his abusive father, for his mom, and his mom just says, "You're making it worse. You always made it worse." And you see Bob like drop his head, and then obviously the final act of the film, of when he's punching the void and they all just hug him and he absolutely breaks down into tears. That destroys me. And of course, not that's just Bob. That's just with Bob. Some heartbreaking scenes. Cry every time. And probably the most emotional part of the movie is the conversation between Yelena and Red Guardian. Absolutely amazing. Amazing scene. It was emotional, it was deep, it didn't end with a joke. Fantastic. The movie is not perfect, obviously, most of the team does get a lot of time to shine. Of course, Yelena is the main character. Red Guardian is like the comic relief. John Walker, I think, is a standout. He's so good in this movie. He's really, really annoying, but it works. Ghost, I feel like could have been given so much more, and she's so hot as well. Could have given her way more. Taskmaster, who really cares, man? Like, no one cared to see that version of Taskmaster very much. Although no one expected her to last about 25 seconds in this movie. So, yeah, Thunderbolts. Well done for not only being a great movie, being an emotional movie, being a funny movie, but also actually having a post-credit scene that leads to something. I have Ironheart also going in, haven't seen, and the final film here is Fantastic Four: First Steps. And this is obviously gonna go into Marvelous, but why is the Incredible Hulk there? Fuck off, dude. Get out. You are definitely not Marvelous. Fantastic Four: First Steps. I feel like the movie did play it very safe. I feel like I will put it maybe there. I think I did enjoy it more than Daredevil Born Again. Actually, no, I can't put Fantastic Four above Daredevil in anything. But yeah, Fantastic Four: First Steps. Love the team dynamic here. I think that this is easily the best Fantastic Four movie. The team, I can understand people liking the OG team more. That Reed at least did more stuff with his powers, but here I think as far as the character of Reed Richards goes, I think that Pedro Pascal is fantastic as Reed. Vanessa Kirby as Sue Storm, of course, the standout character in this movie. She is brilliant. She is absolutely amazing. Johnny Storm, I think this is the best version. I love Chris Evans' version, of course, but this version was just so good. Then you have Ben. Ben was given very little to do in this movie, unfortunately. He barely did anything. And even the it's clobbering time line just sort of felt empty to me. It didn't really feel like much. And speaking of, lines not really feeling like anything, Johnny did not say "flame on" once in this movie, which is kind of surprising. When you get to the villains, I think that having, I think his name is Mole Man, there as like a little, he's not an actual villain, he's just sort of like a side character, but of course very Incredibles-esque with the Underminer, which was inspired by the frickin' by Mole Man, the comics, whatever. But you get to Galactus and Silver Surfer. Galactus, I think, is pretty awesome, and I don't know if I'm misinterpreting it or what, because a lot of people seem to think that Galactus is just evil, but he's not. He's he's more of a tragic character because he was just he was small. He was a normal size person, but he just ended up in this position, and now he is like facing like perpetual hunger, and all he's doing is trying to survive, trying to satisfy his hunger. So I don't really understand why Galactus is seen as evil here. Sure, he's eating worlds and stuff, but he's doing it because he has to survive. So yeah, I think Galactus is a tragic character. Silver Surfer I thought was fantastic. I absolutely loved her. I loved Charlotte Ball. I think that she was such a great character here. I'm quite happy they chose her and not I was about to say Norman Reedus, Norrin Rad, because of course that would have been very repetitive. Loved her design. I loved her backstory. Probably my favorite scene of the movie is when Johnny plays the recordings of all of the screaming people from all the planets that she let die, and she just absolutely loses it. I absolutely love that scene so much. And yeah, even the ending, when she saves Johnny, because of course we know that Johnny's in Doomsday, but even then we're like, oh shit, is he actually gonna do this? But no, she throws him out of the way and she pushes Galactus through that thing by herself. Which, by the way, I'm just gonna say this: most of us thought that the movie was gonna end with their world getting destroyed by Galactus. I am very happy with the way that they sort of defeated Galactus here. Very, very happy. Only thing I'm not happy with, though, is, well, the main thing that I'm not happy with is the post-credit scene. I think it is absolute rubbish. I hate the look of, spoilers there. I absolutely hate the look of Doctor Doom here. Obviously, the fact that they are filming Avengers Doomsday does not excuse, well, they're not filming right now, but, they were. It doesn't excuse the fact that the cloak looks like a fucking tablecloth, that the mask looks like something from a freaking, like a china shop. The mask that I made myself out of foam, this looks better than the one in the movie. This at least looks somewhat like metal. That just looks like cheap plastic. It's so bad, it's horrific. If you're not going to have a good look at Doctor Doom, don't put it in the movie. And I honestly think that the little teasers of Latveria, the little sign that said Latveria in that meeting, to me, was more exciting than the post-credit scene. And what confuses me more is that it actually was RDJ in that scene. It wasn't a stand-in. Why did you show his face then? Why didn't you show his face? So, yeah. Fantastic Four overall, safe film. Very happy with it. But yeah, I think that is the tier list, guys. Whew. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you think of this. There's gonna be some things that obviously not a lot of people are gonna be happy with, like the freaking Guardians special being in the Ghost Assemble tier, whereas Iron Man is like in Multiverse of Meh. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of my tier list down in the comment section below. How many missiles are you going to be sending to my house like Tony Stark? And yeah, I should probably get some sleep. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, that was my tier list of the entire MCU. Just anything and everything. Let me know what you guys think of this down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.